get my 6. And if you know the drill, I would recommend you not just watch for dark figures moving within the trees. Watch for bright flashes of white and white eyes, aside from just red eyes and yellow eyes and green eyes. And listen to everything. So, a couple nights ago, we had a meeting of the minds with a couple of guys that I have a lot of respect for. I'm not going to tell you their names. I'm going to tell you who they are. They're friends of mine, very, very dear friends of mine, very close friends. But I'm not going to tell you what kind of work these guys do or who they do it for. And if you're hearing all that and you're saying, oh, it must be some security clearance type agency. Yes, it is. So that's why I'm not going to give you specific details. Now, I'm going to tell you about some of the things we discussed up here around the campfire while we were having our little male bonding session. And then I'm going to tell you about an experience we had, which none of us had expected. Of course, we didn't have the camera to capture it with us because when we get together to talk, we do not have any cell phones or any technology made in certain parts of the world, electronics, anywhere close to us. So we were up here discussing everything, everything under the sun, stuff mostly that we just can't talk about with other people. Combat war related type experiences and stuff. You learn quickly. You'll see people come on the channel and comment. They'll say, I've seen you on here say you're a veteran. Well, my granddad went through hell in Vietnam and he never talked about it, so I know you're fake and blah, blah, blah. No. Combat veterans do talk about their wartime experiences, just not with you. They talk about it with other combat veterans. Because when you come home, you only have to hear that once or twice before you realize it's just not worth it. Putting your heart out there and being told you're a liar or how you should have done things differently from people who've never been there. So, and my buddies, well, they've been there, okay? And when they come up and we get together, we get to heal in ways we can't otherwise. I have several friends. My friends are good people and I love them, but I can talk with these guys about things that I just don't feel comfortable talking about with my other friends. So these were the kind of discussions we were having that night up here around the campfire, watching the fireflies. Watching the fireflies, looking at the stars, when we stepped away from the fire for a bit so we weren't blinded by the fire's light, we could see the sky. And as always happens when I'm with these guys, as serious as they are and they're educated, they have a lot of real world experiences, but our conversation, because of what I do here on the channel, comes around to such things as potential Bigfoot Sasquatch, potential paranormal activity, all these things. So it came up, and guys, I might have to go in here and move around these woods so we can cover all these different angles because I'm hearing something walking around. We just had a very heavy rain and we needed it badly. Let me go right here for a while. We needed it badly. I was going to actually roll out about 3 or 4 different water hoses and connect them together and water my fruit orchard this evening if it didn't rain, because those trees, I'm going to lose them if they didn't get the water. So this was very timely. So anyway, yeah, so you can hear a lot of rain dropping from trees around me as I talk, but I'm hearing things that is not rain dropping from trees. So keep getting my 6 while I tell you the story. So they asked me, what do you really think? And I told them, guys, I really think what I say in those videos. Potentially, Bigfoot Sasquatch may or may not exist, and he, she, it, or they may live in the woods behind my forest. Seen weird things around here that I don't know how to explain it by rationale. And, this whole paranormal stuff, people watch the videos, they claim they see ghosts in them, and we've seen some strange things. Those guys, they say, yeah, we've seen those videos. I said, listen, what do you guys think? Okay. Now, guy number one, very logical thinker. They both are. If you knew what they did, I mean, I'm a writer. I have a very vivid imagination. I would not be able to get the jobs they have because I'm too creative. And I'm not saying that these guys aren't creative, like they have stones in their heads. They're very logical, they're very methodical, they're very fact-based. And this is one of the reasons we get along so well, because they don't, their opinions are based upon what they know about, based upon their experiences, much like me. They don't have strong views on things they don't understand because they watch news. I can't spend 5 minutes with people like that. But if you've been somewhere and you've done something and you have insight on particular issues because of your experience, man, I'll spend a... That was a very loud bang. What I was going to say was, I'll spend all day with you. And I do with these guys when we get together. That came from back there. So, guy number one, I ask him, what's your take on it all? Bigfoot, Sasquatch, paranormal, cryptozoology, all these things that, these pseudosciences that have never been proven or disproven. And he told me, he said, personally, I have never seen a Bigfoot Sasquatch. I don't believe I've ever seen a ghost. He says, I don't want to rule it out just because I have no experience with it, because that's very small-minded, and that's not who this guy is. But he said, the question he always comes back to is, why, if these things were known, would the information be hidden? He said, for example, if there were two-legged, bipedal mammals out there in the forests all over North America, or potentially all over the world. I'm hearing those footsteps again. Why would the governments of the world hide these things? And so that's where he says he's just kind of at a loss, because he doesn't know the answer. And trust me, he knows about information and government in ways very few people will ever be able to know. And so my other buddy says, well, guy number two, he says, that's kind of why I lean towards thinking these things might be real. And I said, what do you mean by that? How so? And he told us about an uncle he has who was in the science world, and very like mindset to ours. If you ask him something based on science even, he is very hesitant to give an answer unless he's had personal experience with it. I'm going to twist it a little more. So he used for examples purposes the case of the spotted owls. If you can remember back to the early 1990s, the spotted owls, here's the deal with them. It was somewhere around Grays Harbor County, Washington, I think, where I lived for a spell. They're around Aberdeen, where Kurt Cobain's from. And some wrestler, my son was telling me, I can't remember his name, because I don't watch that kind of stuff. I used to when I was younger. But they found this owl. I can't remember exactly if the owl was either thought to have been extinct already, or they didn't know it existed. I think they thought it had been existed, and nobody had seen any of these things for a long, long time. I mean, I should have Googled it before telling this story, but when this happened, the brakes were slammed on the timber industry. And there was this big ruckus, this big fuss up about protecting these owls. Oh, it was really something. And the timber industry's lobbyists really had to go to work to make sure that the timber industry didn't suffer permanently for a very long time because of these owls. I remember their mottos. It was like, save an owl or feed a family, your choice, something like that. It's crazy how most people never think, wow, maybe you could do both, but that's just my take on it. So anyway, friend number two, he says, that it's his view that, he said, this is just his kind of some thoughts he was having. He says, if an owl could put the brakes on the timber industry like that owl did back then, what would happen to an entire industry if it was discovered or if it was known that there was a very large two-legged mammal living out there in seclusion, and perhaps even an entire society of them. That was a pretty good train of thought. So we're talking about it, and I said, guys, when we get together, we eat a lot of meat. We love to eat meat. Well, we were out of meat, so I said, guys, let me go back down to the house, because we grilled it. You know, our wives were down in the house playing this game called Tongits. It's like a Philippine card game. You know, it's not like they're gambling. It's just what they do when they're hanging out. It's like, if they do win money, like it's small, it's like $20, and usually whoever wins the $20 is the one that buys the pizza or whatever. So everybody wins. It's not like an addiction thing. It's just a social thing, and it's not a money-driven thing. So I moved down a little bit closer to where we heard that very loud knock. So I go down, and I get us another big old plate full of meat. And I come back up to the campground. We've been sitting up here. In the chairs, the campground's just right over here. And these guys had a few things they'd brought up with them, whatever, drinks, dishes packed up. Had the lawn chairs folded and under their arms, and they were huddled together with the flashlight beside the front wood pile out that way, terrified. They said, Kevin, we've got to get the heck out of here, and we got to go down there to your house. And I said, why? And he said, there's like a bear or something up here over there in the woods, because we heard something moving around, and we shined the light over there and we saw eyes, and we got to get out of here. And I said, well, yeah, there's a bear that comes around here, but if it's an animal, it's nothing to be scared of. I said, what color were the eyes? Were they green or were they yellow? And he said, neither. They were white. Well, I said, okay, here, give me the flashlight. I'll go in the woods and take care of this. They said, are you crazy? You can't go in those woods. There's a bear in there. You're going to get killed. We got to get down to the house. Guys, these are big men. These are strong men, and they're younger than me. These guys are still in their 30s, and they're still, I can't say to what capacity, but they're still active. These guys can kick butt. And they were scared. I was like, give me the light. Just give me the light. And they know, so I take the light. I start walking into the woods, and they're like, get back here. That's a bear. I turn around. I said, do you know what color animals' eyes are at night when they shine in a flashlight? I said, they're green or they're yellow. If you saw white eyes, you didn't see a bear. You saw something else. You saw something that is paranormal in nature. And the worst thing we can do right now is go to the house, especially if we're scared, and especially if we don't talk to it, because it will follow us and it will enter the house. They didn't say anything. They didn't say anything about logic. They didn't say anything about reason. They didn't say anything about where'd you hear that, because they knew I was doing this based upon other experiences we've had here on the homestead and experiences I've had in other places. It's easy to see why I can't get the jobs they have, huh? So anyway, I take my flashlight. I go into the woods above the wood pile, because they said something about, at first they thought they saw like a really quick bright flash behind this backwood pile, and then the eyes went up in the direction up the hill. So I took the flashlight and I went up the hill where they said the eyes had gone. I went into the woods, maybe 10 or 15 feet, not far. Guys, keep getting my 6. So I go into the woods. I have the flashlight. I shine the light in the woods, and I say, we know you're here. And the light went out. It turned off. I did not turn the light off. And I said, did you guys see that light go out? And they said, yes. I said, that wasn't me. I continued to speak. I said, listen, we know you're here. We know this is your land, not ours. We are the visitors. I said, but come on, can you cut me some slack? You're scaring my friends. Please don't disturb us anymore. And then I walked back to my friends, and they were like, so what's going on? And I said, well, it's been said that when there is paranormal activity around or energies, one of the things they can do is turn flashlights off and on. And I clicked the light on the flashlight and it came back on as if the button had been clicked, but I did not click the button. And I said, well, that's weird. Give me a second. So then I walked back out into the woods directly behind the wood pile, of which I'm going to show you images and a video clip here in just a second. This is some next day stuff I found. So I went back out in the woods, these woods where I am now, and I said, are you here? And the light went out again. And I said, okay, we know you're here. You're welcome. Thank you for allowing us to feel welcome. And please, again, just stop scaring my friends. Well, we sat down, unfolded the chairs, sat back around the fire, and those guys didn't know what to say. They were speechless. They didn't say anything. So I told them a ghost story. And that did scare them. And we did head down to the house after that. Not because of what we'd seen in the woods, because it was a pretty good story. And we were out of meat. And we had more meat down at the house. So anyway, the next day, I get up. I go out and do my 1 hour long mountain bike ride I do most mornings, unless if I go for a little 20 or 30 minute jog. And I decide to come back up here to the campground as part of my cool down when I'm walking around. I'm hearing footsteps again. To make sure we didn't leave anything up here, because I want to come up by daylight and find whatever might be left, so I don't. That was the loudest tree knock I've ever heard on this property. I've never heard a tree knock that loud. So I come back up to make sure there's nothing. I don't want to hit it with the lawnmower when I come up and find it, with the mower. And so I walked back to that back wood pile, making sure we didn't leave anything there. And there's this white substance all over the wood pile that looked like paint. I took pictures of it, which I'm glad I did because it has rained and much of it is gone now. But right now into this video, I'm going to insert those pictures so you can see what it looks like. Watch. Okay, here's what it looks like today after a little bit of rain. So here you can see where the white substance was when I showed you the original images, and it's been largely washed off from the rain. So it wasn't like an actual paint, which it appeared like it might have been, because if it were paint and it had been sitting up here dry for at least 3 or 4 days now, the rain would not have washed it off. And down here where the rain did not get to, because this layer of wood was protecting this layer of wood from the rain, it's still here. So I checked all the ends of the logs for any sort of particular type of fungus, and I found one here that is similar in color, but this is actually a physically formed fungus with mass. Whereas over here, this was nothing like this. It was like paint. What some have referred to as ectoplasm, perhaps. I don't know. But even here, where it's still dry, we see this is not sticking out. This is not like the fungus we just saw up here. So there you have it. I have no idea what that substance is, and I have no idea what we saw. But I know I just heard the loudest tree knock I've ever heard up here. And I know it's probably a pretty good idea to go in the house now. Thanks for being here for another episode of the PBS, the Potential Bigfoot Sasquatch Show.